the meeting notes are in the meeting invite, so you guys should all have access to that. I will share that out. Here we go. Cool. Yeah, so welcome everybody. If you guys weren't on the call 2 weeks ago, Happy New Year. Hope everybody had a nice break. So yeah, just wanted to talk about a couple things today, but we can kind of take the conversation where the conversation goes. Please, add yourself, and if you have any topics that you want to talk about, just add them to the agenda, and we'll make sure that we talk about them.
Okay. Hey, an incredible nit since we're at this and a whole new year. Do you mind if I switch from Jan to 01 so that we have like ISO standards?
Absolutely.
All right. And I will add myself. So I just posted a few things. linuxfoundation.org. Okay, so I posted a few comments about the metrics, so people get a chance. I think basically the issue right now is we need to figure out how to improve the little dashboard to measure things we actually care about.
Yep, agreed. So yeah, I think that's the output that I would like to get from that is having a core team that just focuses on the implementation of the dashboard. So, sorry, I'm lost my screen, so I can't actually see anything that I want to see. And I gave team such a compliment, and now it's okay. Here we are. Okay. Yeah. So okay. So the agenda. So yeah, we could talk about that kind of how we take the dashboard from this like quasi MVP proof of concept thing to something that we can actually release. Some of it is like design stuff. Some of it is implementation stuff. Some of it is getting like a domain name and figuring out like how to blog about it and things like that. I do need to update the README so that other folks can install the dashboard and kind of go with it. We did want to talk. Maya gave a decline, so I don't know that we have much that we can talk about on getting the scorecard, either the metric dashboard or the scorecard project access to a enhanced GitHub API token, so that it wouldn't be subject to the normal rate limits. If we need to defer that, that's what we'll have to do. But I think that is right now is a limiting factor on unless we do some radical like redesign where we use the end user's token or something.
Yeah, I reached out to
Maya. Familiar with Nicole so it's Nicole, and I forget her last name. I think if we have Dan here, he might be able to remind us. So Maya mentioned that there's a Nicole at GitHub that's working on allowing researcher access to GitHub data, and we might be able to work with her.
Perfect. Yeah, I reached out to Maya earlier this week, and I'm still waiting to hear back about exactly this issue, so that hopefully she can point us to the right person, so that we can actually start engaging. Because there was some question on that last meeting if Nicole was really the right person or not. So hopefully she can get us properly directed, and then we can start making some progress. But
perfect. So do you want to just hold on to that thread and follow up with Maya and just kind of drive that down to an answer?
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah, Mike, do you currently record the date for the data that you're reporting?
Yes, sometimes. So for certain collectors, the date is the current timestamp because that's you.
I understand, right?
But for like your data, I echo there's a collection date, I think.
Yeah.
yeah, so I bring that.
The reason I ask is, I mean, we don't have to fix, I'm looking more at like an MVP kind of thing. Could we do something like, let's, you've got a list of projects to analyze. Let's sort by the oldest data that you've got, and do the every day do N projects
Yeah.
that are the oldest.
Yep.
And then later, if you get super user tokens that let you get lots and lots of data, you can add that later, but we don't need to, unless we get that soon, I'd rather not wait.
Oh, I totally agree. We should be able to, I mean, the system itself, no matter what limit we have, we might go over it. So it has to be able to like be nice in terms of throttling. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and as far as projects to analyze, I can't control the universe, but it's easy for me to give you the list of projects that are currently participating in the CI Best Practices badge. You could download that list yourself.
Actually, that is the list that's already in. So
oh, okay.
Yeah, that one and everything in the scorecard project. Both of those were the easiest things to just go after. So.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, and then I did want to have a maybe 10 minutes or so on security reviews, but since we're talking about dashboards, okay, so the reality is I only have like 25 hours every day, which are not enough for me to make a lot of forward progress on the dashboard implementation. So I'm looking for someone on this call to step up and say, you know what, I have some time. I would like to drive the implementation. What that'll mean functionally is, you are now the main committer to the project security metrics repo. I will give you access and creds and whatnot to the VM and the Grafana instance, so you can party on it. And you can then have hopefully have a small team that you work with out of band of these kind of bi-weekly meetings to make kind of more sustained and more meaningful progress forward. I think it's the only way that it's going to succeed. So I'll open it up there. Is there anyone that would like to put their name next to this and say, you know what, I got this?
So I can't put my name next to it, but I have some other thoughts, and I'm willing to do some reaching out to folks. And this relates to something else we've talked about on the metrics project. So we've talked about trying to apply a supply chain integrity kind of framework to the data that we put in here. And in Toto is a framework for that. And Santiago Torres Arias, who is the lead of that project, is a professor at Purdue and has a research lab and people that we might be able to see if we could make that be a research project for him. So that's one idea. Another idea I have is that we have some funding in the OpenSSF, and we could consider, possibly hiring someone as a contractor if we think that this is contractor like work, or work that we'd be comfortable having a contractor help with. So that's another option. I'm also, as you know, Michael, I'm trying to get more resources at Microsoft dedicated to OpenSSF so that we have some engineers at Microsoft who can work on projects. That's going to be a little longer out. So those are my brainstorm thoughts.
Cool. Yeah,
I'm
I
a little.
don't see any reason why a contractor wouldn't work, except that it's going to be more of a, it's not so much the pushing of the buttons, it's the knowing what buttons to push, or like thinking of what the most effective buttons to push would be. So it would have to be a contractor with enough domain knowledge that we can describe the problem, basically have them join the work group and then lead it. That would work for me. Having Santiago, if he's interested, that sure. I mean, in the same kind of scenario of like, great, you're part of the work group and you own this. You know, I would like it to be kind of driven through this working group.
Yes, I
but
agree.
as far as who does it, I think it's more important that there's momentum and progress, even if we have to sometimes backtrack and go in a slightly different direction. To be agile and stuff.
Yeah, so Michael, I would be interested, but I have something of the same problem where I only have 25 hours in the day. But I might be able to lend a hand. I probably my first step would be I need to be able to install it. I tried last time, and as we noted, the instructions are for the old version. So
we'll fix that today.
Awesome. Yeah. So so I'm not so sure I can commit to just to doing the whole thing, but maybe I can lend a hand. In particular, if we can get a contractor, I have the domain knowledge. I have trouble with time. If we can find somebody who can lend us a hand, then that might actually work out pretty well, because working together is a good thing anyway.
Yeah.
If we were looking for someone with the sort of the right set of skills, are the main skills we need someone who has sort of web application and API expertise, or
I mean, it's like I would say kind of a jack of all trades kind of, a generalist developer would be fine, because on the Grafana end, it's literally using Grafana, which you watch the videos for a couple hours and it's not that it's fine. On getting data into Grafana, it can be whatever. It's some of it's shell scripts, some of it's Python, some of it can be whatever they want. It's just you post a thing to an endpoint.
The server itself is Python, correct? Python 3.
So no. So the architecture. In fact, I should type this out here so that way it's here. There's Grafana, which is the UI. There's Postgres, which is the database. There is an Azure function, which is C#. But this is uninteresting. Just provides a web API to remove from Postgres, and then there's scripts and stuff. Gather, parse, whatever data, and send to the Azure function. So, like, none of these, like, these are all. I mean, I guess the only real coupling is the Azure function to Postgres, but that's, I mean, it's really, I mean, it's probably 500 lines of code in total, like the entire thing, other than like obviously Grafana and the implementations. So yeah, it's kind of like whatever they have, they can use. It can be Node, it can be whatever. The thing that I think will take a while is, like, right now, I made up a bunch of metrics, or not made up, but like I said, okay, so here are metrics from the scorecard. Here are some from the best practices. Here are some others that kind of made sense to me at the moment. are those the right metrics? Do they convey the right story? It has to be a value that it has to be something that the user can't do just by going to, running the scorecard themselves or going to the best practices website or like looking at like the GitHub Insights page. And
I'm even okay as a starting point if it just has a summary of best practices and scorecard and other existing things, but because there is no one place for those things, so it still adds value.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael, have I been looking at the wrong project? I'm looking at project-security-metrics, and when I do a find on it, it's pretty much all Python except for a couple GitHub YAML files. Am I missing something important?
Let me find it for you while that's loading.
GitHub.com OSSF project security metrics.
Yep. So.
Huh.
Yeah. So the metric. So if you're looking at the V2 branch, this is the old one. This is.
Oh, okay. I just did a get. I just did a get clone.
Actually, wait, hold on. Wait. No, I'm sorry. I merged it. I'm
on the main branch.
So there is a run jobs, which just kicks off and runs a bunch of other jobs.
Yes.
One of the jobs is like the GitHub project releases, which this one goes straight to GitHub and looks for it just as GraphQL, grabs the releases and spits it out and submits it to the
right.
API.
All that stuff looks like Python scripts to me.
Yeah. But I think this is it. Let me see. No, there we go. At least there was one. This does a clone and looks for the unique contributors and posts that. But yeah, so this is.
So that's what you were calling the scripts and stuff?
Yeah.
Is the Python scripts?
Yep.
Okay.
And then the output is this, which is this was
I believe it's all Python 3, correct? I mean, I would have to.
Oh yeah, Python 2 is dead to me and everyone else.
It is not dead to everyone else. It is dead to you. There's a vast number of people who are
to the Python people.
No, it is dead to Python people, developers of Python, not to the people who use Python, which is an enduring problem.
Right. Many enterprises are still stuck on 2.
Yeah, I've talked to people endlessly about how many hundreds of millions of dollars will you provide to me to switch? Oh, you're not providing that. Well, why am I talking to you?
Yep, I get it. Yeah, so it's basically each of these widgets corresponds to a piece of data in the database, and it's by bringing it together and telling a story. Some of it I think might actually just be like if we're okay with like these metrics being the metrics that we provide, then it's just more data and automating the collection of it, which could be some cron jobs. It's more just the cognitive burden of keeping this in my head and trying to make progress on it that is overflowing the cup at the moment. So yeah, so we're going to a contractor, but I do want to give folks on the call just if you're thinking about this later and you're like, you know what, I want to do this, just shoot an email out or post on Slack or something, and that would be terrific.
Okay, so a couple things that I can do. So I can reach out to Santiago. The other thing is we are, for the funds that we have available from OpenSSF, we're looking at, setting up a process where we have working groups and others create proposals and submit those to, I think we'll run this all through our budget committee, which is just getting formed up or just about to get formed up. And then we can decide, we can open for those proposals. We can have companies, we can have funds that are already in OpenSSF potentially go towards those, and we can also ask other companies if they might be willing to submit monies toward that. So what I can do is keep this in mind as one of those proposals, and then as that process firms up a bit more, Michael, you and I can work together to create a formal proposal. So
that would be awesome. Cool. Okay.
Unless we find someone else in the meantime. So
cool. Okay. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about was the security reviews. So I talked a little bit about this last time, but for folks not on it last time, or just to give everybody a refresher, the purpose of this is to make public a repository, a database, or whatever, a bag of security reviews that people have done against open source components, which basically means I've done some work. I've taken a look at LeftPad. I've determined that LeftPad is fine, or it's not fine, or it's fine, but only in these circumstances, or whatever. And I write up that as a entity. I post it. I put it in the bag of security reviews, and then anybody else, when they are looking to use LeftPad, they can say, "Oh, Mike did a security review and he said it was okay," or "Mike did a security review and he said this thing's terrible." Whatever it is, whatever the opinion is, it's there. So this differs from CVEs. So it's not a zero-day trading club. We're not going to host new vulnerabilities in this that haven't been known. But as a couple examples of the types of things that make this interesting. Number one, the fact that someone's looked at it and didn't find anything is a positive indicator that does not exist anywhere else for the most part. Some projects have had third-party security audits and they come back clean and they put their website, and that's great, but there were just so few of those. It's practically 0%. Have that. Second, places where the usage of a component, Elasticsearch, don't expose Elasticsearch to the internet. It's probably a reasonable guideline, but people make that mistake all the time. Sandboxing in Electron, things that this crypto library implements 40 different crypto algorithms. Only 3 of them are deemed secure at the moment by cryptographers generally. This is this is a random number generator, but on Linux it is super predictable, or whatever, things like that. They wouldn't be classified as CVEs, and therefore, if there's no other place for them, that knowledge is usually either in a GitHub issue or buried in the docs somewhere of the project, and that's fine. But I think consolidating that into one place has a lot of value, because what you really want to say is, I as an enterprise, I'm using 10 components. Is there anything I need to know about these 10 components? And it's well, 9 of them have been reviewed and they are safe. 1 of them has been reviewed and here's the information. I want to know that information. So that's the long elevator pitch for why I think this is important. The proposal I would have on how to actually do this is it's a GitHub repo. Text. There's a little bit of structured metadata up at the top so that you can do things like sorting and finding and stuff like that. And the content is text. So it's marked down. It's easy to, so it's as simple as possible, but no simpler. So yeah, thoughts.
I just added a whole bunch of thoughts on some key issues. some of which I think you've already, make sure it's clear who did the review, allow hypertext links. I probably should make that clear, hypertext links to others' reviews, because sometimes you can't host them because of copyright. But if we link to them, as long as we can link to them, I think that's fine.
Yep.
Making it clear that you might not agree with the reviewer. That's okay. It's someone else's review.
Yep.
And some sort of process for adding and removing them. I'm thinking of, there's some sort of group, at least a couple people approve it, approve their addition or removals, so that it's not just one person's opinion to add or remove them. But it's got to be lightweight, but something. But other than that, I love this idea. And I think that this suddenly provides added value for the metrics thing, because you go to the metrics website and it shows not only these numbers, but if there's a review, poof, there's your review. Oh, hey, look at that.
Couldn't agree more, David and Michael. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic idea. There's more value to publishing as well. I think, especially having kind of a referenceable database or bag, like you said. But I think it's an excellent idea. I would be happy to update some of our security reviews, some of which have just been completed recently, to kind of get some momentum going in the listing. But yeah, overall, I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think security reviews, like you said, there's very few components and very few open source projects that get them, despite being so popular and so ubiquitous. So overall, yeah, fantastic idea. And if I can help in any way with this, please let me know.
Awesome. So I think the main right now, I think the long pole in my tent is getting and it's definitely not the most important part of the project, but in order to move forward, I need to standardize on these criteria, and I don't want to devolve this into a committee that just talks about capitalization. Things like, what are the possible values for a recommendation? Like, how do we say that this thing is good, this thing is definitely no good, or this thing it might be good depending on how you're using it? Like, what are the words we want to use here? How do we describe, like, are we looking at the entire, did I look at all of Elasticsearch, or am I just looking at, like, how one deploys Elasticsearch? How do I convey that?
I think right now, I think making their criteria too strict is a mistake, because we have so few that stripping away things is going to be a problem at all.
Yeah.
I think it's more important that it's very clear who did the review, and maybe I should also ask, clearly ID. I guess this is number 5. Clearly ID what was reviewed.
Yeah.
ID what was reviewed. So, for example, that the LF just recently did a review with for the Linux kernel, but just of a very specific part of its vulnerability handling process, not of the kernel as a whole. I think that's okay, as long as it's clear that that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yep.
So I think right now I'd focus way more on truth in advertising than it's got to be this particular way or capitalize these letters.
Right.
So truth in advertising, I know who did it. You don't have to agree with them. And then later on, we can be pickier.
Sure.
The story of Wikipedia actually might be useful. There was a Wikipedia before Wikipedia. They were going to pay for the articles, and they got one article. So they decided to open up to make it a wiki instead. So I think I would focus more on who's reviewing a lightweight list, and let's go.
Okay.
And I would be happy to be one of the people who looks at things on whether or not it's okay, but it better not be on just my shoulders. I would rather have like a list of 10 people and 2 people say yes and verily, and then we can distribute the workload.
And I think we can do that all just with pull requests.
Right.
I think you can do like a, you know, M of n like style gating.
Oh, I think it's even simpler. Just you make a pull request and somebody else says approve, and you wait a couple days, and if there's no complaints, go.
Yep.
And that's and really, I'm not expecting there to be any issue with what you've done in your current set. It's much more of a forward process.
Oh yeah. Well,
we could grandfather in everything you've gotten.
We make mistakes too. So.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'll push forward on this. So, sorry, Dave.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can we just propose? Hey, let's add it. The current set over and move it over and simultaneously work a process for adding new ones, making it lightweight and go.
Yeah. So I'm planning to. I'll probably choose like 100 or so that we've done, and kind of seed the set with those. And then and then go from there. But so there'll be one big pull request at the beginning. I think we need things like you know, we need this to be on the OSSF.
Okay.
You know,
And it'll be clearly identified who. I mean, they'll clearly be identified as a Microsoft evaluation. Okay, great.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, and so the number it'll probably be small enough that we can fix them all if we decide that, you know, oh yeah, like methodology is actually really important to have like machine readable. You know, I think severity is probably the other thing that's important. I think, but yeah, I get your point on.
Yeah, at this point, when we got nothing, I think being too picky is the mistake.
Agreed. Okay, so I don't know that I have the ability to create new repos under OSSF. Ryan or Kay, I'm sure you guys do. Does this sound like, do we need, since this is kind of part and parcel of this working group anyway, do we need like TAC approval or anything like that, or can we just create a repo and go?
No, you can just create a repo, and you actually should have permissions. But if you don't, let me know, and I can create one
Awesome.
for you.
Yeah, and I think you want to have general consent from the working group, but I'm reading general consent. Is there anybody opposed?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. The other thing I would recommend though is to go ahead and send a note to the TAC, letting them know that we're doing this, and it's not so much that you know they're going to stop it. It's just for visibility. So we've had other cases where people have started new projects and others haven't known about it, but they might have been excited and wanted to contribute. So
yep, we'll do. When's the next TAC meeting? Because I could just show up and chat about it.
Next Tuesday, I believe.
Yeah, but I wouldn't wait till then. Send an email today.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You know, just a heads up. It should be fine.
Cool.
Yep. And I think you're right. Well, one of the key things is just coordination, awareness, and you may get some help, which is great.
Yeah.
I actually probably can point you to several projects once I know that there's something to put them into.
Yep. Awesome. Cool. I think we got through just about everything. Is there anything?
I'm supposed to be in another meeting. I gotta run.
Oh.
Bye.
all right, bye, David.
Okay, thank you. Bye
Hi,
bye.
David.
Cheers. Yeah, is there anything else that anybody would like to talk about?
Hi, hello. Hi. Hello.
Hi, Prakash.
Hi. Yeah, I'm new here, but I would like to catch up things. But also, I have some clarification to make. This body, I mean, although we are looking into clarifying packages based on security, how do you make sure that this body is not biased in future?
Biased in terms of that we're making poor decisions on what makes a component secure or insecure, or biased like we are only going after certain projects that let's say like single developer projects, we're like harsher on them than we are on like big name projects. or something else?
In both ways. I mean, the purpose of open source is to have open contribution and collaboration.
Yep.
And we should not our good deeds by categorizing this. I mean, this is one of the good efforts that needs to be done, but should not be used in a manner that in future people regard this as a modus of reference and disqualify upcoming or new contributors.
Sure.
For example, we should not block the way for them to contribute to open source, and also we should not give the upper hand for bigger corporations to suppress the voices of the minority. If this is what I would like to bring it upon, and how would this classification will make sure that it will not be biased for minority contributors.
Okay. That's a great question. I don't know that I have all the answers there. I think transparency helps. So the fact that anybody will be able to sit and if I am biased in how I'm handling that, I can only do that by being transparent in my blocking of their pull request. If big corporation X has a component and then they submit a security review against their own component that says it's the greatest thing ever and way better than their competitors, like if I merge that pull request, that's kind of like me endorsing that. We probably need to articulate what our like criteria is. Like, is it acceptable to review your own component? Is it acceptable to write a negative review on your competitor's component? Are we going to block that? Are we going to police it? Is it will we just, it's kind of the honor system, and when people raise problems, like if somebody says, opens up an issue and says, hey, I think this review was done by a someone with bad intent, and then it doesn't, it's should be removed, that's fine, and that's transparent. We can act on it. We probably need to have a core team that's kind of on the line to make these decisions, and maybe it's this work group. I think transparency probably saves 80% of the problem, but obviously we could, in the future, start doing the wrong thing, and it's, we would still own the repo, so we can't, I think articulating, some of it I think also comes down to the values and principles of the OpenSSF, where we, as part of the OpenSSF, we still need to adhere to those principles around transparency and openness and inclusiveness and all that. So I think it'll be okay, but if we need to, we probably should be clear on how we make decisions. That way they're not just completely arbitrary.
But another manner is to, for example, if you see common criteria, there is something called evaluation assurance level, and there is a certain level of assurance that a component can provide, and for example, ring 0 and ring 1 up to ring 7, right? So here in this manner, in such a manner with the common criteria, you are able to bring in open source developers from a security perspective, from a low grade to a high grade entity. I'm not sure whether you have heard about this EAL levels.
Yes, I have. I think. I'm sorry. Continue.
So do we have such mechanism? For example, rather than beating everybody with just one type of stick, I would like to have something like assurance level or something which paves the way for new contributors, contributors who doesn't have much security exposure, but their idea or the embarkment, whatever they are embarking on, endeavor is worth a maturity path. So that's what I would like to emphasize on. What kind of variations are you going to provide with this kind of effort with your grading based on security level?
Yeah, so my fear in going down a formal so I think we could make this too informal, where it's just a Slack channel and people post on like, hey, I looked at this thing and this thing looks fine, and people can search. And then there's like the super formal end of it where we become a certification body, and there are guarantees that we make, and we have a super specific, formula, and that will cost lots and lots of money in order to do. And realistically, I don't see many organizations doing that level of work and then giving it away for free.
Prakash, are there, so you mentioned something about common criteria. Is there some work being done somewhere else that we can leverage, or?
Common criteria is I could send okay. So I'm talking about this one. Actually, this is you can qualify. This is about qualifying systems, but not packages, as you have mentioned here. But it does have a way to qualify less secure system because their applicable scenario permits it. To put it in a simple manner, we do not want to treat. Treat every package and its use case in a very narrow standard, but where it is going to be used plays a very important role in how much security level that package should support. Was my point clear to you all? And I can.
Yeah, so I wonder if we, I think I understand this. So let me echo back a few things that I've heard recently. So we also heard a similar concern recently from GitHub. Michael, Ryan, and I were in GitHub. We're in a separate meeting where they were a bit concerned about making security information too visible in the framework of GitHub, because they didn't want to discourage individual developers from, just being creative, creating projects and getting started. That doesn't mean that security information shouldn't be available about projects. It's just how do you balance the work of someone who's just getting started versus bigger corporations. Anyway, so that was something I heard that sounded like a similar concern to what you're suggesting, Prakash. Another thought I have, and then I'll stop and see if this sounds like it's the direction you're heading. There's another group that I'm part of that is thinking about supply chain metadata, and that includes information about software and vulnerabilities that are related to software and mitigations related to software. And in that group, we're thinking about sharing information like vulnerabilities and mitigation, but just attaching to content that others have created. So I'm not being quite concrete enough, but I'll try to be more concrete now. So the way that I think about this with this security metrics dashboard is that, we could include reviews that are more general, and we could include reviews that are more specific, maybe that meet some sort of criteria, and we could include all of those in the dashboard and just make it clear which ones are which, rather than requiring our security reviews to all have the same set of criteria.
I think that makes sense. And I think it all goes back to the transparency. I think you made a great point, Michael, that I think transparency really solves a lot of these kinds of issues. And, just the fact that anyone can, who has something, they're passionate about or they want to talk about, they can join one of the meetings and, bring that up, I think is a great example of kind of that openness and allowing anybody, not just, somebody from a big corporation or what have you, to speak up and to contribute to the work groups.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think the other place where we might be able to push on this is with funding. So the same way that there are bug bounties and hopefully at some point patch bounties, there could be review bounties where we say, because there are so many components out there, and a lot of reviews could take, 2 hours, and to attach a monetary reward to doing that might be a good way to kind of efficiently do this if it doesn't happen organically enough.
Yeah. Not to shamelessly plug or promote, but also that is kind of what OSTIF specializes in as well. I'm going to be giving the Securing Critical Projects work group an update on the work that we did, kind of referring back to the Linux kernel, that specific review. And, really the sky's the limit with that in terms of all the different reviews that can be done in terms of getting the right resources. Because with security reviews, like you said, Michael, lots of times they don't happen because, who's going to do it, who's going to take responsibility for it, who's going to push it forward. And that's kind of why we kind of step in and act as a catalyst to get these security reviews done and kind of push them forward and, basically get them done, get all the right pieces in place and move the project forward to completion. So just a thought as well. And hopefully, I think it will be, if not the next meeting, but the meeting after that we'll do a little bit more of a deep dive into the results of that review.
Awesome. I will be there.
Nice.
Cool. So Prakash, thank you for bringing that up. The way that I've internalized this is that perhaps there is a lowest level of there's no formalism defined, and this will be the pot that anybody can contribute to, and it's really the reasonableness bar is it's at the right point, but it isn't super high. And then after that, then we can say, okay, if you want to be I don't want to reuse EAL, but if you want to be a level, in order for this to be a level 1 review, you have to use one of these static analysis tools that we think are reasonable. And maybe at a level 2, you have to do that and fuzzing, and you have to do code review, whatever it is. And that way it's, the advantage for the consumer is that I know that if I'm building a spaceship, I need everything to be level 3 or above. And if I just have my personal website, I don't care about anything, so it doesn't matter. That kind of thing. But I'm also cognizant that as we make this more formal, the amount of community input we'll get will probably go down drastically. So we'll probably have to pay for anything over the default level. Maybe, I don't know, could be wrong. Cool. Got about 5 minutes left. Anything else that anyone would like to talk about? Excellent. Well, then, I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their week. I think our next meeting is in, I think the first week in February. So we'll chat then. And Kay will follow up on the
ideas for engineering resources.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I also wanted to just say, Prakash, thank you and welcome. And we're glad to have new people here. So and appreciate your bringing up that topic. And please keep joining us and feel free to bring it up again until we get it right. I think we're still early in thinking about how to do this. So and open to ideas. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Excellent. And then the last follow-up, I will send. I'll probably post something in Slack about the security reviews when that repo is created. I will try to have some reviews posted in the next, sometime before our next meeting, and then we can kind of iterate on that a bit, and then go from there.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thanks
Thank you,
so much.
Michael. Good to see you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.